Hey, hello there. Welcome to Talking with Tony. Today, it's our honor to bring back Kevin White, a member of our football panel. And this time, you get to see Kevin. A few weeks ago, we had audio only, but you can see he's a very handsome guy, and he's done a good job this year with picks. He's right around 500. His five stars have not been very good, but we're not going to give him too hard of a time there. What's going on with you today, Kevin?
Working, buddy. Always.
Making
It's
that money, huh?
no, just trying to recoup around here from a hurricane. So the
Uh,
first part of the week was kind of touch and go, and now everybody's getting back to it. So it was absolutely crazy. All right.
I guess it's the St. Mary's. How did that area, how did all of Camden County and Kingsland and St. Mary's, how bad was it for the from the hurricane?
It got pretty ugly. Like middle of the night, it got pretty ugly. Main thing was just down trees. There was some light flooding near coastal, real close to the coastal areas. Main thing down trees and power outages. We
I
were there's still some places spotty that don't have power. So
but at your residence you have power now.
I have power at home. It came back on. I wasn't without it for a full day. They had it back on fairly quick where I live. Um, I did have a humongous tree go down, got a big mess, but thank goodness it didn't hit the house. So
I was I was in Memphis and there was no problem, sunshine and no problem. The next day we had heavy rain and that was it. But to know that so many people that I cared about in Auburn, in LaGrange, in Noonan, where you're at, we're having troubles. That day was hard for me to grasp. It was like when Hurricane Opal came through, I was out in Las Vegas, so I didn't see any of it. Now, when I came home the first time, like 3 weeks after Opal had gone through, and the trees were just down everywhere, that's when it really like registered with me. And I've got some friends and the people that I care about in Greenville, South Carolina, and they're probably not going to have power for another week. Not, so it looks like a war zone there. I know my brother-in-law lives in Valdosta, and they have frequent troubles from these hurricanes or tornadoes and all. He did get power back on. He's come up to Auburn and hang out with family, but that's I'm grateful for you that you didn't have more problems than you did, and I'm grateful for you that you got your power back rather quickly compared to some.
yeah, your brother-in-law there, Valdosta. We've got family over there as well. My mom lives in Thomasville now. And my brother-in-law, his brothers and stuff live over in that area. And the subdivision, they live right there near Hayhira.
Hmm.
If you're familiar with Valwood
Yeah.
School
That's
over
right
there.
where Lowndes County High School is, like in the
Right.
Hay Hire part. Yeah.
And they live right there. And he's like, you wouldn't believe, like there aren't any trees left from the hurricane last year. And this one is like all the trees are gone.
Mm,
It's
that's
amazing.
hard to grasp. I mean, it is hard to grasp. All right, so it's South's oldest rivalry week, and I see that you've gone with the backdrop today, and you've chosen one from the famous four overtime
Let's
game at
let
Jordan
everybody see
Hare,
the
and
Bulldog.
Oga wants to take a bite out of. I think that's Robert Baker of Auburn. Tell me about this. Tell me about this photo and why you decided to rub our face in it, so to speak.
And well, no, I wasn't trying to rub your face in it. I just thought it was fitting for this weekend, right? I had a
Yeah.
different one chosen with the big black machine of red and black coming down the tracks, and
Hmm.
that didn't work out so well this past weekend. So I chose a different image. All right.
Can you as a UGA guy sort of put the emotions into like the final couple of minutes there after being so far behind in Tuscaloosa and then taking the lead? Can you take us through that roller coaster of emotions and then seeing, because you took the lead with such ease after you came back and got, right there, you just needed it. And then Ryan Williams makes that play and kind of poor tackling by UGA and all of a sudden a heroic effort, yeah, but still a loss. I think you're like me, you don't really believe in moral losses, moral victories in a loss.
No, I don't. It was rather upsetting the first half of that football game. As a true dog fan and been one for life. Yeah, I thought we were a lot better than we played in that first half. And then chalk it up. There's nobody better than Kirby Smart than at making a halftime adjustment. They came back out and they look like the Bulldogs that we all know, right? Came back, took that 1 point lead. Yeah, I mean, I
Sorry
was
about that.
absolutely, I was absolutely ecstatic. You know, we were just joyful in the house for all of about 30 seconds, right? And give credit where credit's due. That kid Williams, he's going to be something special. I mean, he's really, really good, really fast, and it didn't help that our guys didn't even try to tackle him, right?
Yeah.
So those emotions, it was very much a letdown. You know, it's like my son, he wasn't at home, he was off with some friends, you know, and when we went up, I was texting him, and my daughter, she was also texting him. She's in Athens, of course, right? And he's on there texting back. He's like, "Y'all shut up. You're jinxing it. We've been here before." Right.
Mm.
And then bam, they scored on us like that and retook the lead. He's like, "I told you."
Totally understand. I mean, like we do all believe that we have power in the whole jinx thing. Don't talk about it, don't say anything. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can understand where he's coming from. Uh, for further clarification for our very young crowd, UGA people probably know about it, but Kevin in the background's got the picture from the 1996 game, a game at Jordan Hare that UGA rallied from 21 points down. I want to say Brian Smith and Hines Ward were playing quarterback for UGA on that day, if I remember correctly. Does that sound right?
That sounds correct. That was that
Yeah.
was the Hines Ward day, right?
Yeah. My and it's such a tragic thing, but my neighbor in Athens who lived below me, she was Elizabeth. She was just a beautiful girl, beautiful person. She was killed back, I think it was in May, or it seems like it's the end of the school year last year, but she lived below me in Athens, and she tragically died in she was run over trying to retrieve some luggage of some kids that were traveling with her. But she dated Brandon Tolbert, and I got to know Brandon a little bit, and he was a linebacker on that team. He had a cup of coffee with a couple of NFL teams. I believe the Cowboys, were one of them and all. But he was highly frustrated. We made visual eye contact in the first half, but man, defenses did not win the day that day, and UGA scores basically a long touchdown pass to Corey Allen on basically the last play of intermission. Or it seems like it was like 30 yards or so. I don't know if I call it a Hail Mary, but got them to overtime, and they pulled it out in 4 overtimes. All touchdowns scored that day.
Yeah, it was a big day. Yeah, I mean, we like those days, especially when we go into Jordan Hare, one of the oldest rivalry in the South, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and Auburn, who led it forever since Kirby has come back to Athens, has now dominated the series and has totally swung that. Now I don't know. I mean, Auburn would need to win, 8 out of 10 or so to retake. I mean, UGA has really took control. In fact, Auburn's last victory was 2017 when UGA was number one. But truth be told, you'd rather win the SEC championship game than beat them if you're going to face them twice. And UGA got the revenge in the SEC championship game. Auburn had an opportunity to upset Georgia last year, but then they got confused and didn't realize Brock Bowers was an eligible receiver in the fourth quarter, and then Brock Bowers killed him. So we're going to pick some games. You think you can deliver some winners for our crowd today?
I don't know, buddy. It's like I texted you earlier or yesterday. I feel like these point spreads, they're crazy. I feel like we're stepping off in a trap this week, but we'll throw a few darts and hope. How about that?
I think you will. I got you 25 and 26 on the year. 1-4 with the 5 stars. But look, the best record of anybody on the panel is Stormy, and he's only 2 games ahead of you with 27 and 24. And Danny and John are both 26 and 25. And I have no room to criticize anybody because I am 2 games under 500 because of the Auburn debacle. If Auburn hangs on against Oklahoma, which is a whole nother story, I would be 500 right now, but it was a 2 game swing. I am 3-2 in my 5 stars. I'm the only one that has a winning record in the 5 stars, and I'm 3-2 in soccer. So we're going to try to give between the two of us. We're going to try to give some winners out. Kevin, let's start with Texas A&M and Missouri. Missouri is one of these teams that have been playing a lot of games at home, and they have been surviving some scares. Now they go to College Station, and A&M's favored by 1.
Yeah, and in this game, I think we're at that point in the season where teams are starting to show their identity a little bit. We don't know wholeheartedly some of them. Mizzou's one of those sneaky teams. Georgia's played them every year for the past what, 5, 6, 8 seasons, somewhere around there since they joined the SEC, and they've always given Georgia trouble. And so I lean a little more towards A&M in this game just because of the 12th man and the environment. And Mizzou's run game isn't as strong as I would like to see them. If they had that, if they weren't just relying on the quarterback so much, I think they would have a better chance. But in that environment, and at A&M, the 12th man, the noise they're going to bring, it's going to be a tough environment. And at a 1 point spread, I got to go with the home team.
Okay. Big game, A&M -1, Texas A&M -1 is Kevin's first selection. We go to the before mentioned Auburn and Georgia game. Georgia favored by 23.5. We used to never see spreads like this in this series. I remember one year in Athens in 95, Auburn was a double-digit favor on the road, like 12.5, 13 points. And I was like, bet everything you got on Georgia in this game. Even if Auburn wins, they're not going to win by more than that. Auburn won, but nowhere close to the 13-point number. And that was like a real high-scoring game, one of the coldest I've ever been at Sanford Stadium in that 95 game. And then he's got the picture of the 96 game right there behind him. So Georgia's favored by 23.5. Can Auburn be competitive in Athens when UGA is coming off a loss?
Absolutely, they're going to be competitive in Athens. I mean, this is the one of the main ones I was referring to as stepping into the trap. I mean, that's a lot of points between Georgia and Auburn. I mean, man, it's tough. Those games between Georgia and Auburn are usually low scoring affairs, in history, and so to give Georgia 23.5, especially off of the performance from last week, they've showed they can put points on the board. But if they come out slow like they did against Bama, I think it's going to be a much closer ball game than 23.5. But I'm going with my dogs because I can't jinx them, right? I have to pick them. You could tell me it was a 100-point spread. I'm still going to pick them.
Fair enough. I will not be at the game, and for the first not for the first time. I went to every Auburn Georgia game from 1983 to 2017, and just seeing Georgia sort of dominated here lately. I haven't really missed out on the fact that I haven't been in person for those games, and I have if I felt like Auburn had any kind of opportunity to pull off an upset, I might go there. It also has got to where UGA has got to be like a lot of the SEC teams. They stick the away team, the majority of them, like up in the 600s at Sanford Stadium. I'm talking about like in the nosebleeds. And it's just it isn't worth the time. And they charge more for the away teams tickets than they charge their home teams in certain games. I found that out the hard way back in 2016, I believe it was. So I'm not. I'm going to watch from my own place and see Georgia win 49-3. And no, Auburn can't make a field goal, so we saw that against Oklahoma, not even a 27-yard field goal. So hopefully Auburn at some point can get a touchdown and miss the extra point, be 49-6. Kevin goes with Georgia -23.5, and I'll just go ahead and be a spoiler alert right now. Everybody's got Georgia -23.5, the other four members of the panel. I didn't pick the game, but everybody agrees with Kevin. A game that will be going on at the same time that I will be tremendously interested in. And shout out to my friend Julia in Greenville, South Carolina, who's had so much trouble with the storm. She's going to up to Ohio State to see Ohio State and Iowa play because her husband has a relative with the Buckeyes. So I'm fired up that she's going to be in God's country, Columbus, Ohio. They're favored by 20.5 over Iowa. And Kevin, this line hasn't moved at all since it came out, which means that the action is equal on both teams. Iowa's got this amazing defense, a little bit of an improved offense. Ohio State still hasn't put together a complete game yet. It looked better on the road last week against Michigan State. Still have something to prove to me, though, before I can say because they're my pick to win the national championship. But I'm not willing to say they played their best. Like they have not put together like a game like UGA had in the opener against Clemson. Haven't seen that from the Buckeyes. I hope to see it Saturday against Iowa. I know you like Ohio State. That's a lot of points, 20 and a half.
It is a lot of points, especially against a Big Ten rival in Iowa there. Iowa's going to have a good program, like you said, a great defense. This is another one of those traps for me, right? That's a lot of points as a spread, but we've seen a lot of points given to OSU earlier this season already, and I chose against them, and it bit me, right?
Mm.
And they proved me wrong. And so at this point, I really like OSU. I like Ohio State as far as how they're playing, the weapons that they have. I know as a true fan like you are, you want to pick it apart a little more than somebody on the outside looking in. I mean, they really look like a complete team this year to me. And so I think I was going to struggle, especially in Columbus, right? I think they, I think they're going to score and they're going to have their moments, but come second half, Ohio State's just going to walk away.
I see it being one of those situations where it's like 36 to 10 or 39 to 14, and Iowa's got the ball late and they're driving. And as far as the number goes, do they score or do they not score? I've got the Tyleik Williams 91 jersey on right now, the outstanding defensive lineman for the Buckeyes. That could be how the 20 and a half point deal comes down, because that is a ton of points to give a good team. If you would have told me before the season started, Clemson favored by 15 and a half at Tallahassee, I'd be like, wait, timeout. What? Isn't this the team that was complaining so much about being left out of the college football playoff last year and then got slaughtered in the bowl game by UGA? And yeah, I realized they didn't have a lot of other people and all that, but we got to move forward. Clemson favored by 15 and a half. I will go ahead and let you reveal it because everybody on the panel outside of me, I didn't make a selection, but everybody on the panel agrees with you here with your pick. So I'll let
Okay.
you be the one
So,
who says what that pick is.
yeah, so this game, earlier, the last time I was on when it was just a black screen in my voice, I was talking about FSU. There's no way they can go 0-3, right? I mean, they're going to put together a good practice. They're going to fight this one out. They're going to pull out a win. To no avail, right? No avail. So this thing, Clemson, since the loss to Georgia, has proven that Dabo is Dabo, and he's rallying this team together, and they played some really good football. I think that they might win by way more than 15 and a half. I'm going with Clemson.
You think they want to exercise some demons? Like this has been such a rivalry of so many competitive games through the years, and Clemson's won plenty of games. They've won their share. You think it's one of these days where they just want to put the number on Florida State and move on with the rest of their schedule?
I think so. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. I mean, Dabo's he's a nice guy, right? He's a good coach, right? Come second half, I mean, if his second string guys are just walking all over him, he's not going to hold them back, right?
Well, I did see something here that I overlooked. I did make a selection. I said I didn't make a selection, but I did make a selection. I just opposite of you guys. I went with the Seminoles plus 15 and a half. It's time to rally and see what they can do and get a victory. Okay, they have a victory over ACC team in California, but is California really an ACC team? So I think that they may rally and be competitive. The rest of you do not agree with me, and that's okay.
But FSU's victory is that Hurricane Helene jogged east and didn't go through Tallahassee.
Well
Right?
said.
That was
No,
their
that's good.
victory.
That's
Right?
good perspective,
It's not going to
actually.
happen against Clemson.
I have selections in the next two college games as well. I take Washington at home minus 2.5 against Michigan in what should be the Rose Bowl and is the matchup of the two teams that played for the national championship last year. But because of football contracts and money and all this garbage, they're now both Big Ten schools, which is just absolutely ludicrous. But I'm going with the home team, and a little bit of that is look, I don't care for Michigan at all, but I'm going with Washington minus 2.5. I see that you have a five-star selection, and it's the Michigan Wolverines.
Absolutely. Hopefully I'm right there, but what made me lean that way is Pinnock is now in Georgia in Atlanta with the Falcons, and DeBoer just kicked the dog's butt last weekend. So, uh, nah, Michigan's they've come around. They're playing some really good football. Their running backs are running the ball very well. The lines are making a push. It's tough to go that far across the country and play a football game in an environment that you don't go to very often. But I think Michigan's going to be the better team. You know,
Okay, if I tell you one other thing, would this make you a little more nervous? Stormy's 5-star is the Michigan Wolverines plus 2.5. Does that make you a little more nervous?
if this were last season, yes, but now he's got a better record than all of us. But I mean, maybe it's a good thing.
And he's 2 and 3 and 5 stars. Hey, Art is so like into this. He sent a note, and we've gotten all of his games right for 2 or 3 years that we've been doing this. But Art sends a note at the top that says 7 and 4 last week with like exclamation points. I was like, all right, we got you, man. We're good. You're back over 500. I get it. And I had you down for 7 and 4. So it's personal. So all right. So Kevin's 5-star and Stormy's 5-star are both on the Michigan Wolverines. John Perkinson's got a 5-star in the Miami, Florida, California game. Miami, Florida favored by 13. Jake, you got to find Sebastian the Hurricane, good looking mascot they have there instead of just the U. His 5-star is Miami, Florida minus 13. I'm going to tell you that I'm on the opposite side. Cal's defense is really good. Miami, something was going on with Miami the other night when they played and they played Virginia Tech. I mean, they couldn't block the front for Virginia Tech. So that could be an issue, or they may come out and do what they did to Texas that year in the Cotton Bowl and beat them 50 something to 7. So, but I'm taking Cal plus 13. Everybody else, including Kevin, has got Miami of Florida minus 13. So either I'm right or y'all are all going to be right. Tell me why you took the Hurricanes minus the 13.
Well, I kind of looked at both of those. I was glued to that Miami Virginia Tech game, trying to keep track of it. I couldn't see it, of course. I was without power at that point, but I was checking on my phone, kind of watching it and following it. And so I saw a little bit of a struggle there, not seeing the game, just following score and what I could get on the internet. But also, I mean, Cal didn't play to their ability this past weekend either. They struggled a little bit. And so I just feel like, yeah, Miami doesn't go out there very often, but I think they're just a better team,
Yeah.
right? And I think they had a down week, and everybody does. Um, yeah, that's why I had to go with the Hurricanes. I'm not a believer. I'm not a Hurricane fan. When they were hyping them up early in the season, I was like, yeah, we've heard this before, right? But they've proven themselves, right? So, um, they had Cal's had their struggles last week. They've played some good football at times, but I just think the edge is at 13 is a lot, and that's one of them. I'm saying, based off the collective of the entire season, I'm gonna throw that dart Miami's way. Right.
Okay. All right. Since I've got some soccer selections for Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and reveal my 3 soccer selections. I'm 3-2 on the year, nowhere close to the dominance of 14-1 last year. I go back to Brentford for my first selection on Saturday. They're minus half a goal. Money lines even there. It's minus 110. I then go to Manchester United plus a half. Got to pay a little bit in juice, minus 125 with the Manchester United plus a half a goal. And then I'm going with Bayern Munich, who is my favorite soccer team, minus a half on Sunday because they look absolutely horrible. With that game is wrapping up as we were coming to air to film this today. They just lost to Aston Villa 1-0 in the Champions League qualifier, and they looked absolutely horrible. And I just refuse to believe they can play that bad 2 games in a row. So those are my 3 soccer games: Brentford minus a half, Manchester United plus a half, and Bayern Munich minus a half. Let's roll to the NFL now. We start with the early morning contest in London at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. You can watch it on the NFL Network. This is my 5-star. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets for my 5-star because every time it looks bleak with Rodgers, whether he be with the Packers or the Jets, they respond with a good game. They looked horrible against the Denver Broncos and losing 10-9. The Vikings are having this dream season. Now they got to go out of, across the pond, as we like to say. Vikings favored by 2.5. I know that is my 5-star. I had a hard time even picking a 5-star. I will say this. This is Danny's 5-star. He's got the Vikings, and so does everyone else on the panel, including Kevin.
All right. All right. So you and Danny are opposite sides on this with the 5-star pick. I like it. Yeah, like I'm with Danny on the Vikings on this one. I've always loved Aaron Rodgers. He's a great quarterback. He's making his comeback from the injury, but Sam Darnold is something else, man. I mean, he's just proven himself that he's an elite quarterback, and I think he's out to prove something this year. And whether it's in Minnesota or in New York or in London, I think he's going to get the job done.
They're having a heck of a run to the beginning of their early season. Bills play the Texans. This is my final selection of the week. I'm on the Texans -1.5. So my two NFL picks: New York Jets +2.5, Texans -1.5. I will tell you this: every member of the panel, including Kevin, is on Buffalo +1.5. And they're coming off a loss against the Ravens, Kevin, but you think they bounce back against the Texans?
Yeah, there again, quarterback play. I'm a fan, right? Oh my God, I'm getting old. My brain doesn't work as well. Who's the quarterback there? The Bills. Tell me his name real quick.
Josh Allen?
Allen. I'm an Allen fan. He wasn't recruited by anybody. Sent his videos everywhere, all across the country. Found a home in Wyoming, right? I have a ton of respect for that guy playing in Wyoming. As you know, I lived in Colorado for about 4.5, 5 years. I was up in Wyoming a good bit. I was there during the wintertime, during football season, and watching high school kids in 2 foot of snow when it's 10 degrees outside, just murdering each other. And I'm like, these guys are tough out here. I was like, our Southern boys from Georgia wouldn't make it in this. And so I have all the respect in the world for him. I think he's a heck of a quarterback. At any given moment, he can make a play. I think he has the bounce back. I mean, it was a down week. He had a bad game. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they're playing outstanding football. That was a tough loss. I think he bounces back and pulls away. You know,
Okay,
and it
fair enough.
only and that small of a spread, I'll take once.
We got two more NFL games. We got the Packers, the afternoon window. They're playing at the Rams, and the Packers are favored by 3.5. I will say this: as far as there were four NFL games for the panel to choose, four members. That's 16 total picks. 15 of them are the same. There is one from the panel that is different, and that's Kevin's choice in this Packers Rams game. Everybody else took the Rams +3.5, but you went with Green Bay -3.5.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for the Rams to do their thing. They've got several of my old dogs that have come through there, right? And so I would love to see them do good. Um, I just think with what's going on in Green Bay, love making a comeback, that kind of thing. They get the run game. If they can get it established, I think they're going to give them a run for the money.
Josh Jacobs, man, he's fabulous running back. When they do click, he will take them places. Let's go to Pittsburgh for the Sunday night game. Pittsburgh favored by 2.5. I'll let you reveal. This was a Super Bowl when we were kids, twice, 35-31, and was the most recent one, I think, in the season of '79. There, the Cowboys, Jackie Smith dropped a pass in the end zone when the score was 35-14. They had to settle for a field goal, and then they got two fourth quarter touchdowns and made a real run at the Steelers. But who's your choice? Because it's the same as everybody else's.
Nice. So I went with the Steelers at -2.5. They're coming around. I've been on the Steelers since the start of the season. I think the Cowboys looked better earlier on, but now they've shown to be the Cowboys, right? And so that's why it made me lean more that way. And I decided to take the Steelers in this one. And that's one of those old rivalry, get down in the dirt and fight games. They have no love lost for each other. So I think it's going to be a battle, and that 2.5 points might be as big as that 23.5 for Georgia, between these two opponents, but I lean towards the Steelers.
Well, we like to reminisce and be nostalgic here, and they've certainly had also faced each other in the 90s in a Super Bowl. I went to out in Arizona as a Cowboys fan. I was in Vegas, and what happened is I was having so much success in the sports book. I went and played blackjack, and this guy had two tickets. And he was down, I don't know, 18, $19,000, and I gave him something incredible, some amount of money to get two Super Bowl tickets. It was the next day. And there were flights from Vegas to Phoenix taking off every 40 minutes it was not a problem to get there. It was not a problem to get back. I will say that I paid $10,000. So just what I said for a couple of those tickets. But I saw my Cowboys, Larry Brown pick off a couple of passes against Neil O'Donnell, and the Cowboys win that Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a good moment. We got a little bonus picks for you here today. My friend Mike Gordon, and Mike is the only person I know that has two kids that appeared on Talking with Tony through the years. His daughter Amanda, when she was in grad school at the University of North Carolina, appeared. She's now working for the Washington soccer team there in DC. And his son Josh appeared a couple of years ago. He was with a different indie team now. He's with Andretti Sports now. They're the best pit guy they have, best mechanic they have. But anyway, Mike's the dad. He's a San Jose State Spartan. But I said, hey, Mike, give me a pick on Auburn and Georgia. And Mike's lock of the week, he says it's Georgia. It's not even going to be close, is what he says. So he wanted to give out. I don't know if he wanted to give out. I pushed him into it. And I told him, hey, I'm also going to throw in a bonus one for you and say Arizona -5.5 at home against Texas Tech. That's the last game on the schedule at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Arizona coming off a road victory at Utah. So good for Arizona. There'll be a lot of red in that game, that Arizona Texas Tech game. I'm going to ask our guests to do a bonus pick now because we both are Falcons fans. I think I may believe in the Falcons a little more than he does. This probably won't hit YouTube until Friday, and the Falcons play Thursday night. That's why I didn't put for selection, but they're playing the Buccaneers, Kevin, at home in Atlanta. Atlanta needs this game. They pulled one out against New Orleans last week. Can they get the job done? They're favored only by like 1.5 points.
Oh, yeah. This is a tough one here. The Bucks played really well this past weekend.
Sure
I mean,
did.
they put a beat down. Yeah, the Falcons, they did it to me again when my 5-star last week was the Saints, right? And here they go. Falcons did it to me again. So I'm afraid. I'm afraid of this one. If I pick them, are they going to let me down again? If I don't, are they going to hurt me again? I'm gonna go with the Bucks, but I gotta go with the Bucks.
Maybe Jake will come up with something cool with the pirate ship or something there with the Buck flag on it. No, so you're going to release the Bucks for Thursday night. That's fair enough. Let me run down everybody's picks, starting with me, who just does not sit well. 10-12 on the year, 3-2 on 5 stars, 3-2 on soccer. Let's do positive first. Let's start with soccer. Brentford -0.5. Manchester United, I go to next, +0.5. And I go with Bayern Munich to wrap up the 3 soccer plays at -0.5 goal. I choose 5 games this week. I go with Florida State +15.5 at home against Clemson. Washington -2.5 at home against Washington -2.5 at home against Michigan. California +13 at home against Miami. In the NFL in London, I'll take the New York Jets and the 2.5 points against the Vikings. And I go with the Texans -1.5 at home against the Bills. John Perkison is 26-25, 1-4 and 5 stars. He's got Missouri +1. The Bulldogs -23.5. Ohio State -20.5. Clemson -15.5. Washington -2.5. He joins me. And his 5 stars, the Miami Florida Hurricanes -13. In the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings -2.5. The Buffalo Bills +1.5. The Rams +3.5, and the Pittsburgh Steelers -2.5. Stormy, 27-24 on the year, 2-3 and 5 stars. Missouri +1, Georgia -23.5. The Buckeyes -20.5. Clemson -15.5. His 5 stars, the Michigan Wolverines +2.5. He goes with Miami of Florida -13. In the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings -2.5. The Buffalo Bills +1.5. The Rams +3.5, and the Steelers -2.5. Danny's 26-25, 2-3 and 5 stars. Missouri +1, Georgia -23.5, Iowa +20.5, Clemson -15.5, Michigan plus 2.5, and Miami of Florida minus 13. The NFL has his five-star selection, the Minnesota Vikings minus 2.5. He goes with the Buffalo Bills plus 1.5, the Rams plus 3.5, and the Steelers minus 2.5. Kevin is 25 and 26, 1 and 4 with 5 stars. He's got the Texas A&M Aggies minus 1, his Bulldogs minus 23.5, Ohio State minus 20.5, Clemson minus 15.5. The five-star selection is opposite of me. He goes to Michigan plus 2.5, and he joins Stormy with that 5 star. Miami of Florida minus 13. The NFL, Minnesota Vikings minus 2.5. The Buffalo Bills plus 1.5. The Green Bay Packers against those Los Angeles Rams. The Green Bay Packers minus 3.5. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers minus 2.5. Got about a minute, 45 seconds or so left. Final thoughts, Kevin?
I think it's going to be a fun week. I mean, we're all stepping in a trap, but those point spreads are ridiculous. If that were my money being put on the line, I'd be like, nope, I don't bet this week, right?
But we're off just having fun with a little Monopoly money here, man.
That's right.
Just
That's
for
right.
show. Kevin, I really appreciate you taking the time joining me today.
Absolutely. It's always fun. Go
We'll
Dogs.
have you back in a few weeks. He says, "Go Dogs." That's it for Talking with Tony. For Jake Barton and Kevin White, I'm Tony Jones. We'll see you next time right here on Talking with Tony.